What makes an excellent leader? And are they really that scarce? And what do they do to merit such exceptional compensation? Welcome to the Excellent Executive Coaching Podcast. Your host is one of the world's leading experts on international leadership. She's a master certified coach and facilitates a mastermind for CEOs of international companies. She's the author of 3 books, Abrasive Leaders, Global Nomadic Leaders, and Managing Brilliant Jerks. She has worked with Nestle, Novartis, and even the United Nations. She's especially good at helping executives fast track to the C-suite. Welcome, Dr. Katrina Burrus.
Welcome to the Excellent Executive Coaching Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Katrina Burrus, and today we have Jessica Blasingame. Welcome. And
Thank you.
You are a financial specialist, and I'm sure many of our listeners can learn about how to, really make sure that they leverage all the financial information that they can do and do it in the right way. So tell us a little bit, what are the most top areas entrepreneurs overlook when it comes to finances?
Yes, there's really 4 areas that I want to talk about, and they all kind of work together. But I think the number one thing business owners struggle with is they just don't have the right processes or systems in place. It's really nice to have a proper bookkeeping system, or if you're hiring contractors or employees, you need a payroll system. So I think that's the first step, is just getting the right processes in place and getting a little bit of training in how to set those up and use the software. Because I think sometimes they make it sound, like QuickBooks will make it sound like you can just hop in our software and, get going and use it with ease. And it's really not that easy. You need a little bit of guidance to get set up, and then it can be easy. But I think it's nice for business owners to just get a little bit of training so they feel equipped and more in control. So that's kind of one area I think is, get your systems set up. It's also important to, while you're setting up your systems, is you can customize a little bit so that the bookkeeping system fits your business. And I think this is an area that gets neglected a lot. When you're in a bookkeeping software like QuickBooks, you have the option to customize all of your accounts. And I think a lot of people come in and they just use the default set of accounts, and it doesn't really serve the business owner as well as it could.
So Jessica, tell us a little bit of an example of how when you advise companies, what you would recommend a specific company how to customize.
Sure. So if you're a coach or a consultant, you have some options when you come into the chart of accounts. First of all, you have all of your income that you're collecting, right? And you might have different streams of income. So you might have, you're doing consulting, and maybe you have an ebook that you're selling, or you're speaking and you have income from that. So it's really nice, instead of just having one sales account, which sometimes happens, you have an account for each type of income.
Yes, you segment it.
Yes, exactly. So that when you run your report, you can see, how is each stream of income doing, and you just get a lot more information right there in that view, instead of just seeing it all lumped in together.
Great point.
That's one example. Another example is with cost of services. And this is frequently I see service businesses, they don't separate this out. They put all of their expenses together. So cost of services are just the expenses related to providing your service. So it might be something like, if you're printing manuals, or if you hire contractors that are working on your projects, helping you deliver the service, those can be separated out as cost of services. They're different than just your overhead expenses, things like, insurance or advertising and marketing. So I think it's nice for business owners to see, a gross profit, which is just like, how much does it cost me? Or, what is my profit just on providing the service before I take everything else out? So that's another thing that business owners can start doing. And it's pretty simple. You're just setting up accounts for anything that it costs you to provide the service.
Excellent advice. What's the third point?
So the third point is, you've done all this great work. You set up your processes. You've learned how to do it. You've customized your chart of account. You want to be interacting with the data that's coming out of your bookkeeping software. So that's really the end goal. We talk a lot about tax compliance, and I think that's what people think of bookkeeping as. It's like, you do your bookkeeping, you file your taxes, you're done. But there's a missed opportunity there, because what bookkeeping is designed for is to give you information about your business so that you can make decisions. So I find frequently that business owners are not interacting with their reports. They're not running them. They're not looking at them. And often that's just because they're busy. They're not taking the time to do that. But I think if you set the intention and set up a process monthly to look at your reports, you can get a lot more clarity about what's going on in your business, which of course helps you make decisions.
So do you help your clients sort of interpret the data and how they can manage their business better?
Yes.
By reading this data?
Yeah. I like to show business owners kind of how to walk through the reports. I mean, first of all, how to run them, and then what to take away when you're looking at the reports. What should you be looking at? What should you be understanding? It's important to understand the format of the report, which sometimes is a little daunting if you're not used to reading, accounting reports. So just kind of taking it step by step and a little education around it, because then I find that business owners feel more in control of it. They're like, oh yeah, I can look at my reports and I get all this really good data and I feel like I know what's going on, and I can see how profitable I am, and that's like an exciting point.
Right. So what's the fourth point?
So then we're kind of going down the timeline. When you're analyzing this good information out of your reports, now you can create a financial forecast, which sometimes when I say that, I feel like business owners tense up a little bit. It's like a financial forecast. It sounds like a lot of work. Maybe they feel like their business is changing a lot, so they don't really want to put anything into a firm structure. But what I see a financial forecast as is it's just sort of like a framework for mapping out what you want, mapping out your plans essentially in your business. So what you can do with a forecast is you can plug in scenarios. So you could say something like, I want to hire 3 employees next year. Can I do that? What does that look like? Will that increase my revenue? Obviously it's going to increase my expenses. Like, how will it affect my profit? So I think it's kind of fun when you have a financial forecast is to start plugging in these scenarios and just seeing what happens, because sometimes business owners light up because they're like, oh, wow, I could really increase my revenue if I hired more people because I'd have more people to do the work and I can totally afford this. So it just kind of gives you it's sort of like a financial visualization, so that you can see what it would look like to grow or make changes in your business.
I like the term financial visualization. Oh, sorry.
Thank you.
So you help them structure their business for most financial benefit. And can you comment on that a little bit?
Yeah. Within the financial forecast?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think, what we do is we like to look at past data. So that's where the bookkeeping system comes in. We can see historically what has been happening in the business. And then from there, we can say, okay, we can look at each line item. What's going to happen? Do you expect that this will stay basically the same? Or do you think you're going to make certain changes, or you're going to have huge expenditures in one area? So we kind of start with the base, which is the historical data, and then we make changes and we factor in plans for the future. So you can do a forecast, 3 years, 5 years out. You can just look for the year coming up. I like to just do a year just to have like a starting place. So then you have a picture of what you think is going to happen in the next year, and you can totally change it anytime you're like, you know what, I'm not going to hire 3 employees. I'm maybe going to bring on 2 contractors instead. Let's plug that in. So then it's a living document. You can change it anytime you want. So
really these financial reports really helps business owners to make business decisions, right?
Right.
Yeah. And you help them. Yeah. Tell us how you help your clients.
Yeah. So I help in a variety of ways. Oftentimes we're starting from the beginning, right? We're setting up the systems. So I work a lot with setting up QuickBooks for clients and helping them to use the software and know what it can do and, what they need to be doing each month. So we're setting up all the systems and processes in the beginning. Then oftentimes I'm working with clients to, like maybe they have new issues coming up pertaining to their business. And so we look in the software and we make changes, or maybe I'm reviewing what they've been doing over the past year. So we're kind of working within, just sort of overlooking everything they've been doing. And then we also do financial forecast boot camps. So we help business owners create the forecast so that they have this nice document, because there's a lot that goes into it, right? And we have a lot of experience creating these forecasts, and we know what the cost structures look like. So we work with the business owner to kind of find out what their business is like and look at their historical data. And, we ask a lot of questions, and then we create the financial forecast for them.
Excellent. That's most helpful, especially with entrepreneurs that are so sales driven, I would say, in some ways. Huh? So what information is most important to review in a financial report, according to you?
Yeah. So the first report you want to start with is your basic profit and loss report. And that's just income minus, if you have cost of services separated out, minus cost of services, and then minus expenses. And that shows you your profit. So that's an essential report, obviously, because it's showing you profit and how your income's flowing in and what your expenses are like. So I like for business owners, if you have an accounting system like QuickBooks, you can go in and run a digital report. So you get to click on any of the numbers that you see and expand it, get more information. So I like to, guide business owners to be in that practice of pulling up the report, and you can save it. So it's really easy. You just pull it up and then start clicking around. So you want to look in income, and, as the business owner, the most about what's going on in your business. So even if you have a bookkeeper or someone that's doing this for you, you want to be going in and seeing if you think everything looks good, right? Like, you went into an income item and you saw, oh, I thought I invoiced 11 people this month and I only see 5 invoices. Then that would be a concern, right? You'd want to look into that. Or, maybe income isn't classified in the right way. You had a bunch of sales and they all went into a generic sales account, and you want them to go into consulting. So you're just kind of looking around and seeing what transactions are in what categories and making sure it looks right to you. It can be a high level review, and you can catch a lot just in that high level review. So that's the income section. And of course, you want to look at expenses as well. With expenses, what I really like for people to do is look across the months. So you can run, a report for the year, see each month, and you can start to notice trends, right? So you might look in, let's say you have some public relations expenses. You might see that typically your expenses are around $1,000, and then one month you have $3,000. And that might be fine. Is that something you expected? You ended up doing a little extra work with them, so the bill went up, and that's fine. You're really just looking at trends. And then if something looks off, you're asking the questions, and the answers, there may be an answer. If there's not, then you look into it more. So it's really just an exercise of being more connected to your data and your numbers. And that, I think, helps business owners feel more in control of what's going on.
Absolutely. Priceless advice to do that on a regular basis. And people are trying to hire people a lot. Their business is growing, but they can't always hire easily. But what would you recommend so that it runs smoothly when they're hiring somebody?
Yeah, I had quite a few clients this year that was the whole reason they wanted to create a financial forecast, was because they were planning to hire and they just wanted to know what that would look like for their numbers. So I think it's really important to do a financial forecast if you're thinking about hiring, because you can see how it affects your profit. You can plug in, like I mentioned this before, you plug in what you think your increase in revenue will be because you have more people helping you. And then you also are thinking through the costs that are related to hiring someone. I mean, if you're hiring an employee, there's several costs, right? You have payroll taxes, you have benefits you might be offering, maybe you have to set them up with a computer or equipment. So you want to think through those things, because I think it's easy to just go out and hire someone and you don't always think about all of the costs that are associated with it. So you just want to make sure you've put in a little homework, you've done a little homework before you go and hire those people.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Why, you find that a lot of people hire without really looking at all their numbers?
Yes, I find that a lot. And I get it, because you're a business owner. You have to make moves quickly sometimes. You have to take advantage of an opportunity, and you don't always have time to do a big analysis. So I do understand why that happens. But if you can just take a quick step to put a little bit of numbers in place to see what's going on. I think it's really helpful. And I think it decreases anxiety because you're like, okay, I know that I can do this. I'm not guessing that I can do this,
Yes, that's absolutely right. And so another issue that causes a lot of anxiety for entrepreneurs is the tax season. So what advice do you give for these entrepreneurs to manage that in the best way?
Yeah. Tax time is stressful. And I'll tell a quick story. When I started my business, even though I had an accounting background, I was not good with my bookkeeping. I had all my personal and business expenses intermingled. I didn't have an accounting system. And it was pretty stressful at tax time. I had to do a lot of work to, get those expenses separated and get them into a spreadsheet and all of that. So I think if you do the work to set up the right processes ahead of time and you regularly keep up with your bookkeeping little by little, then when you get to tax season, it shouldn't be stressful, really. It should be as easy as looking over your reports one more time and then sending them off to your tax accountant. So, but it does require some discipline, just like with healthy eating, right? You have to make small changes little by little, and you're learning to cook or, whatever it is that helps you eat healthy, and you're seeing change over time. So that's what I always say is just, take it little by little, but try to set up some processes and keep up with your bookkeeping, instead of letting it get away from you and you have to do it all for the whole year at once,
So what would you suggest to new entrepreneurs that want to set up their business, how to start in the best way possible? Is there a software you recommend, a person that can walk you through, of course, the 4 steps you mentioned earlier?
Yeah. So a new business owner, first and foremost, have separate business bank accounts. I know that sounds simple, but oftentimes it's not happening. So separate business bank accounts so that you can track all of your expenses separately from your personal. That would be the first start. I like for business owners to get in accounting software like QuickBooks sooner rather than later, because it's easier to learn when you don't have that much going on in your business, right? You only have a few transactions so far. You can really learn the software and have it set up. Then when you start to grow and you start to get really busy, you already know how to use it. So, set up the accounting system, get a little bit of training in it. Oftentimes with new business owners, I'll do 1 hour with them, setting up the software, showing them how to use it, what needs to be done, and they're off to the races. So it's not really that much of an investment to, take time to set that up right.
Great. Thank you so very much. Very valuable insight for entrepreneurs that love to do the business, but don't always want to make sure that their finances are all set up to do that.
Yep.
So thank you very much. And where can people get a hold of you, Jessica?
Yeah. So my website is just beamfinancialgroup.com. I'm on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and LinkedIn as Beam Financial Group. So reach out in any way. I always love to hear questions too.
Thank you. So they can ask you questions on your website?
Absolutely. Yep. There's a contact page. And if anyone's interested in the QuickBooks courses, I have some digital courses if you want to, do it yourself. And there's a discount right now, which is just courses 15. So
great, Jessica. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Valuable information.
Thank you. It was really nice talking with you.
Thank you, Jessica. We would love to know what you thought of this podcast. Write us an email at drkatrina with a K at excellentexecutivecoaching.com. We would love to hear what you liked and what we could improve. This podcast has been sponsored by excellentexecutivecoaching.com.
Thank you for listening to the Excellent Executive Coaching Podcast. You can subscribe to all future podcasts at excellentexecutivecoaching.com. Join us each Wednesday to learn more about the latest trends in leadership techniques and bring your coaching to the next level. To learn more about Dr. Burrus' CEO Mastermind, use the contact form at excellentexecutivecoaching.com.